All right, so my friends, welcome to the complete set review for Murders at Karlov Manor. That's right, we're going over every single card for constructed and limited. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, support the content. If you enjoy the set reviews I do, if you enjoy the content that I make, hit the like button. Don't be shy, folks. If there's a content creator that you like and you want to see them succeed, the easiest thing you can do is hit the like button. Hit play, hit like on every video. Don't be stingy. I kind of like that one or whatever. Just don't. Hit like on every video. Sports content, all right? Let's go. So we're going over all the cards, constructed and limited. We did white already, missed watching on YouTube. We're doing blue. We're giving out our awards. We're going to do your rock and roll. And then don't forget, boom, 10 new brews will be happening on release day, Tuesday the 6th. Unfortunately, no early access, which sucks. But still going to have a lot of fun. Still going to be 10 new brews. I'll be playing a lot of these cards you're seeing today. Obviously, it should be a really, really good time. And look for that. But let's get started with our first card here, Agency Outfitter. We got a 6-mana 4/3 flying uncommon, obviously a limited card. When it ETBs, you may search your library for library, graveyard, and hand for a card named Magnifying Glass and or a card named Thinking Cap. Put them on the battlefield and then shuffle. Kind of a weird limited card, right? Because Magnifying Glass is like a mana rock that can investigate, which is kind of okay. I don't recall what Thinking Cap does. I'm sure we'll see it in the artifact section. But both those cards are kind of like, not like the best, so like this card can go get them, but is it worth 6 mana? This feels mostly like limited filler. I think if you have one or both of those cards and you need to win the game, it's fine. But a 4/3 flyer for 6 is not the best these days. So there've been a lot of these lately, honestly, in limited. The Esperzoa thing or whatever, Cryptozoa something, just like your random 4/4 flyer for 6 with upside. I don't know. Apparently the Thinking Cap is a equipment that gets +1/+2 and equips detectives, so it's kind of a 5/5. That's better, obviously. But still have to equip it also, so I don't know. Seems reasonable. Fine limited card if you're looking for some top end, and you have the cap and the glass. Not the most exciting though. Behind the Mask. That is a sick name for a magic card. 1 blue instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may collect evidence 6. So once again, collect evidence means you may exile 1 or more cards with a total mana value of 6 or more from your graveyard. That's how you collect evidence. Okay, so this can be either played normally or played kind of like with Kicker by exiling collect evidence stuff. So end of turn, target artifact or creature becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 4/3. If evidence was collected, it has base power and toughness 1/1 instead. So this is a pretty wild card, right? This for a common, this does a lot of stuff. This can turn a clue into a 4/3 and block. This can grow your 1/1 or shrink a 5/5. This can do a lot of different things. Although making something into a 4/3 isn't always going to win every combat. It's kind of a weird combat trick in that respect. And then if you collect evidence, this turns into a turn to frog, right? Where it makes it into a 1/1, and now you always win the combat, which is kind of cool as well. Plays interestingly with +1/+1 encounters. Typically cards like this aren't very good limited, but this is pretty pushed, honestly, as far as rate goes. I think this card might end up being fine. Depends on how many clues you have. Depends on how easy it is to collect evidence. Probably still just like a super fringe limited card, but definitely the best version of this card you've seen. Kind of cool. And then a little Nick Cage there in the art, just kind of creepy too. And then constructed, probably not, but I don't know. Weird card. Very weird card. Benthic Criminologist. 5 mana for a 4/5 Merfolk Wizard. When it ETBs or attacks, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, draw a card. So kind of cool. You just play with a sack clue and draw immediately. But this is like limited filler. A 4/5 for 5 is not particularly exciting. It's not like you'll be dying for mana to sack your clues anyway. If you have some odd way to like make tokens over and over again, I think it's like a red uncommon that makes a Thopter every turn. Maybe you can like draw a card consistently, but it's still only a 4/5. Limited filler, not very exciting. Bubble Smuggler. It's going to be Cassian's favorite card. Cassian loves bubbles. 2 mana for a 2/1. Has Disguise 6. Of course, Disguise is the new Morph ability, where Disguise is literally just Morph exactly, but the Morph has Ward 2. So there you go. And this is a 2/1 for 2, or you can flip it over for 6 mana into a 6/5. So reasonable limited card here. Just a 2-drop or 6-drop kind of thing. 2-drop, 3-drop, or 6-drop. And fine. Limited filler. Kind of cool. Fun art. Somebody call Nemo. Burden of Proof is next. 2 mana for a flash enchant creature. uncommon. Creature gets +2/+2 as long as it's a detective you control. Otherwise, it has base power, numbers 1/1, and can't block detectives. This card is excellent. Excellent limited card. This is a 2-mana permanent +2/+2 on your detectives, which is excellent. You know, a giant growth that stays there is great. And it can also be a removal spell, where you just play this on your opponent's creature, and it's a 1/1, so you win combat. It can't block, which is also kind of cool as well. So you just put this on their big flyer, and they can't block your detectives. This is obviously a limited card for the blue-white detective archetype, but even then, this card's still playable otherwise, I think, just like as a removal spell. Excellent limited card for limited. And then constructed, probably not. You know, if it removed abilities also, maybe. I was going to answer to shoulder and stuff like that too. Maybe constructed, but mostly it's a really good limited card. Candlestick. All right, we get it. Stop beating us over the head with it. 1 mana for an artifact clue equipment. +1/+1. Whenever it attacks, surveil 2. Sack it and draw a card. This actually isn't that bad, right? So 1 mana 1 mana 2 to equip +2/+1 is not great. But Surveil 2 in a game of limited is pretty good, honestly. Like, that's a pretty hefty ability as far as scrying goes, binning lands, putting cards in the graveyard for collect evidence, and not flooding. So, seems like an okay limited card. Nothing really more. Case of the Fletched Falcon. So, once again, we have the case cards. Sort of like sagas. The chapter 1 happens immediately. The second part is the part you have to solve, and we'll check at the end of your turn. And the third part will turn on once it is solved. So 1 mana for blue for enchantment, EDB, investigate. Pretty good. 1 mana gets you an enchantment and an artifact that can draw cards. Cool. To solve this, you control 3 or more artifacts. Not that hard to do in older formats, right? So end of turn, 3 or more artifacts, boom. Now it's solved. And you get the ability to, when it is solved, pay 3 mana and sacrifice it to put 4 +1/+1 counters on a non-creature artifact. It becomes a 0/0 bird flyer in addition to its other types. So solving this is really, really easy. And then you get like this pretty awesome Ensoul artifact. Put this on a Darksteel Citadel or a Clue or whatever it might be. You got a 4/4 flyer, which is kind of awesome. This card's kind of sweet. I think this card has legs potentially in Pioneer, maybe in Standard. Probably not in Modern, which is too much. But pretty cool card, honestly. In Limited, I think a little worse, but the floor is just so high. Just like 1 blue investigates, like totally reasonable. That I think is just kind of cool. And there's not a lot of like artifact-y theme stuff in the set, but pretty cool card. I think this card's got some sleeper potential. Case of the Fletched Falcon. Up next is Case of the Runesack Lab. 3 mana for a case. This is a rare. The on ability is instant sorcery cards cost 1 less to cast. It's not great for a 3 mana enchantment. You solve it by casting 4 more instant or sorcery spells in a turn, but note that it solves at the beginning of your end step, so it does not solve immediately. And then when it is solved, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, draw a card. This one's weird. I think it's cost too much mana up front, and then you can't start just going off with it immediately. If it's solved the second you played your 4th spell, this might be a cool card for Storm decks, because you just like, bam, solve it, keep going. But this one, you need to wait till the end of your turn, and then start drawing cards off of it. So I think overall this card's probably just a little too clunky. It will be a lot better in older formats where there are powerful rituals and stuff, but there are just better options in those formats. So I think this is the card that's going to go mostly unsolved, not particularly exciting, not a limited card at all. Yeah, overall, I don't know. We also have Mind Supplies Apparatus early in the format for reducing costs. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but the card seems pretty exciting to me. Cold Case... Shit. Wrong button. No! We're doing it live. Cold Case Cracker. Boom! Our Bombin Common. Man, power creep on commons just won't stop. Raise your hand in chat or give me a comment on YouTube. If you remember Phantom Monster, pour one out, right? Phantom Monster was the friggin' bomb back in the day. This card makes Phantom Monster look like freaking Windrake or something. I don't know. 4 mana for a 3/3 flyer. No drawbacks, all upside. It's also a detective, which matters as well for limited. And then when it dies, you investigate. That's card advantage, folks. The biggest thing about this card and about 4 mana flyers and limited is that you want to be able to block with them. That's why like your random 3/2 flyer for 4 is really bad because it's an awful blocker. There are times you are behind and you need to block, and this card blocks phenomenally. Just trade off, make a clue is excellent. And then when you're not blocking with it, great, get in, attack, and if they kill it, draw a card. Awesome. This card is excellent. Probably best blue common. Absolutely phenomenal. Bombin Common in blue. Cold Case Cracker. Not a constructor, obviously, but great limited card. Conspiracy Unraveler is next. Where my commander players at, huh? Commander players are going to love this one. 7 mana for a 6/6 flyer, mythic. You may collect evidence 10. That's a lot. Rather than pay the mana cost for spells you cast. And again, collect evidence means to exile card or cards with total amount of value 10 or more from your graveyard. That is pretty powerful, right? So Omniscience, like, if you fill your graveyard up, this can Omniscience you. And it's not that hard. You know, there are plenty of big cycling cards, or like you can discard a Magma Opus or whatever it is. So like, it's easy to think of collect evidence 10 and think of it as like delve 10. It's not. It's much easier to do. But that being said, it's a 7 mana 6/6 flyer. So it's very expensive upfront cost. Although you can use it immediately, which is very, very powerful. So you can cast this and start playing things for free immediately. So probably going to be a really awesome commander card. Probably won't see play constructed. It's just too much, you know. Just cast Traxa, right? But fun card, big card, good teamy card. And then in limited, probably not. The collect evidence part is almost irrelevant. It's just a vanilla 6/6 flyer for 7, which is not good enough for limited these days. Coveted Valk Falcon. All right.
They have a warrant for your arrest. You're going to jail.
You steal stuff, right? This thing wants to steal it back. 3 mana for a 1/4 flyer. It is disguise/morph. Whenever it attacks, you gain control of a permanent you own but don't control. That's a weird line of text, right? Let's keep reading. Whenever Coveted Falcons turn face up, target opponent gains control of any number of target permanents you control, and you draw a card for each one they gain control of. So pretty cool card, right? So you flip it up, and you can obviously just give them a clue or two, or give them some random creature, and then you attack with this and get it back. You have to draw a card when you give it. And then, of course, you have like the real Magic player, you know, the gears are turning of, I'm going to give them freaking Demonic Pact or whatever it might be, you know. So a little bit of donate action here also. And very fun card. That being said, the rate is reasonable, but like I don't really see what else you would do with this. Works well with local enchantments, like rolls, obviously, because the condition doesn't change. Kind of a cool way to draw cards. The problem is it's just like, it's hard to envision what constructed deck would ever want this card, but this is going to be a really good, really fun limited card, which is kind of sweet. So, fun card, fun design, might be cool for Commander, and then definitely a great limited card, but constructed, I'm not really seeing an application. Crime Stopper Sprite. 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer. Additional cost to cast this, you may collect evidence 6. When ETBs tap something, if you collected evidence, stun it. This is a reasonable card. It's detective, which matters. It has 2 power, which matters for some things. And then, like, you can just tap a thing. Collect evidence 6 is not that bad. And stunning things is really, really good. If this always stunned, it'd be insane. We've seen the card before. It's very, very good. As it stands, though, good limited card. Just good limited flyer. Very, very reasonable. Cryptic Coach. Wake up, folks. We got a sleeper card. This card is awesome. So, this card's got a lot of words on it. I count 9 total lines of text. But let me simplify it for you. 3 mana for an equipment. When an ETB's cloak a top card of your library, they put this on it. Equip creature gets +1/+1 and can't be blocked. 2 mana to bounce this. The floor here, all right, the absolute floor is 3 mana for a 3/2 unblockable ward 2. That's pretty good. You know, like, that's not bad at all. And then you have the ability to pay 2 mana and bounce this, and then just cast it again later and do it again. Then you have the upside of, we're cloaking a card. So cloaking a card means you put it face down, just like you would disguise. However, it can put any card face down. It does not need to have disguise. So sort of like manifest. As manifest is to morph, cloak is to disguise. There you go. And that means you might just hit like some good creature. And you just flip that up also. So that upside, the replayability upside, and the fact that the rate is just like good, and also you're just getting an artifact, right? So like you're playing this thing, getting a 3/2, but getting 2 permanents and an artifact, which is great too. So I think this card's awesome. Really, really cool. The rare equipment with no equip cost, right? But really, really cool card. I like this card a lot. It's an absolutely phenomenal limited card. But constructed, I can see this card making some waves. I think this card's pretty awesome and does a lot of really, really cool things. And it's sweet. You don't got to equip it again because you just bounce it and then play it again and just start the whole thing over again, which is great. So, card super sweet. Cryptic Coach, my sleeper card for blue. Up next, we have Curious Inquiry. Watch out now. It's trap, folks. 1 mana for a blue aura enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, investigate. I know Curious Obsession. All right, I played Curious Obsession at Worlds where I came 5th place on Breakers. But this is no Curious Obsession. This is no Curiosity. Drawing a card is a lot different than putting a clue in play, having to pay to draw a card. And Curious Obsession is also kind of a niche card anyway. It needs a very, very specific set of circumstances to be good. And that plus the rate here is just not good enough. I think this card is like, just not very good. Again, looks pretty appealing, looks very Curious Obsession-like, but not particularly great. And constructed. Slight outside shot for constructed, but probably not. For limited, this card's fine. As long as you get that first hit in and get the first token, I think it's fine. You've gotten your money back. But overall, not very exciting. This card is good on Teething Wormlet. That's a pretty cool combo. But yeah, overall, probably not. You know, I think you got to be using their artifact for some pretty good stuff. But overall, it's a trap card in blue. Curious Inquiry. Moving on. A Deduce. From one investigate card that I don't like to one that I do like. Deduce is freaking awesome.
Bingo!
Who remembers Think Twice? I cast a lot of Think Twices in my day. 2 mana for an instant, draw a card, investigate. So of course, Think Twice was 2 mana instant, draw a card. Flashback for 3, draw a card. This is just strictly better, right? Because it's just 2 mana, draw a second card. And then there's times where you just want an artifact rather than drawing a card. So for example, Creativity in Pioneer or in Modern. Boom. Now you have a card that can draw 2 cards or just cycle and then make an artifact that you can sacrifice to Creativity or to whatever else, you know? That's awesome. I think this card's great. Really, really cool card. I think it's fine played straight up as a Think Twice. I think it's also just like a really good card for decks looking for artifacts as well. Card's great. I love it. In Limited, it's a little worse, but still pretty good because you kind of lack the artifact synergies and stuff too, but I think this card's great. Super simple, super elegant. Love it. Deduce. Love it. Dramatic Accusation. 2 mana for an enchantment aura enchant creature. EDP tap the creature, doesn't untap, pay blue, and shuffle it into its owner's library. Just a solid removal spell unlimited. Nothing fancy. The fact that it taps is very important. The fact that it can exile permanently is very important. Well, not permanently, but shuffles back in, which is pretty good too. Yeah, so solid limited removal spell, nothing more. Eliminate the Impossible. I feel like the set was a little too close to New Capenna. You know, the vibes are very similar, but 2 mana for an instant, investigate, make a clue. Creature your opponent's control get +2/+0 to end of turn. If any of them are suspected, they're no longer suspected. So kind of cute here. Your opponent might think they have a menace attacker, and all of a sudden they don't. And you can block better. This card's super cheap. You know, usually with this kind of effect that like buffs your opponent's or debuffs your opponent's team's power is very clunky. This is pretty good though. 2 mana. If this was just 2 mana investigate, it would be not good, but like, you know, there's a floor there as far like cycling. But this card's not bad. You know, just attack with a 2/2, they block with a 2/2, cast this, win the combat, draw a card. Cool. You know, very, very solid limited card for sure. Constructed, probably not, but as far as limited goes, it's reasonable. And constructed, like, if you're looking for like a fog, draw a card, this could kind of maybe do that for you. But yeah, and again, as a reminder, a suspected creature just means that it's been suspected by a thing, and then it also has menace and can't block. And then some things care about suspects, like this card. I go over all the mechanics as you see them for the first time. If you missed White, I'm up on YouTube. Love y'all. Exit Specialist, 2 mana for a 2/1. Can't be blocked by creature's power 3 or greater. Pretty good. Has Disguise, flips over for 2. Whenever it's turned face up, bounce a creature. This card's obviously quite good. Just like, you know, this is your Echo Chaser. Echo Tracer, I mean, for all you boomers out there. Just, you know, flip it, bounce a thing, get some value. Just war as a morph, hard to block. Just rock solid limited card. Not much more to say. Fey Flight, 2 mana for an enchant aura flash enchant creature. When it ETBs, the enchanted creature gets hexproof, and the creature gets +1/+0 and flying. We've seen cards like this before. This is a decent protection spell, but much, much worse than one that costs 1. You know, costing 1, like Dive Down in Friends, is so much better than costing 2, and probably a death knell for this card. If there's some sort of like auras heroic deck in standard, you know, this might be the protection spell of choice. But overall, not a constructed card. In limited, this card is okay, but a little more like a sideboard card though, because like this card's only ever good in response to a removal spell. If your opponent isn't playing a ton of removal spells, this card's kind of bad. So limited sideboard card, constructed probably not. It's all right. Up next is Forensic Gadgeteer. 3 mana for a 2/3 rare Vidalcan Artificer Detective. When you cast an artifact, investigate, which is phenomenal. And then activated abilities of artifacts you control cost 1 less to activate. Can't reduce the mana cost to less than 1. I think this card's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
This card is really, really cool because every artifact you cast, you get another artifact, which is good for synergy. And then all of your clues crack for 1, which is unbelievably good. This might be the card that helps Omen Hawker a bit. You know, we've been trying out Omen Hawker a lot on stream and looking for ways to make it work. This one might be part of that puzzle. I don't know. But definitely, clues for 1 is phenomenal. Making a bunch of artifacts is phenomenal. This card needs to have the right home, but I think this card could definitely be playable constructed. Great limited card. I'm also just a huge fan. Look for this card in 10 New Brews, folks. 10 New Brews. It's coming up. Look for this card. I'm probably going to build around it. It's freaking awesome. Forensic Researcher. Another card we'll probably see in 10 New Brews. 3 mana for a 1/3 Merfolk Detective. Tap it to untap on the target permanent you control. And then tap, collect evidence 3. Tap a creature you don't control. So why is this card exciting? Right? This looks like some random limited card. You know, it's one of those like weird blue mana ramp cards that might tap some things. But in constructed, this card alongside Deep Root Pilgrimage, which is the 2 mana enchantment that makes a Merfolk token whenever you tap a Merfolk. This, 2 of these, or this and a Soul Cauldron, or counters and stuff, goes infinite as infinite tokens, which is pretty easy to do. It's already a Merfolk. You know, a lot of the elements are already there, which is pretty powerful. And then a lot of the Explorer cards already get counters for Soul Cauldron too. So I think this is a real combo card in Standard and something to watch out for sure. Probably see that in 10 New Brews, almost assuredly. In Limited, it's just fine. You know, just an okay card. But Constructed, this is one of those weird combo cards to watch out for. Furtive Courier, the mana for a 3/2 Merfolk Advisor, uncommon. Can't be blocked as long as you sacrifice an artifact this turn. Whenever it attacks, loot. Just fine limited card. You know, attacks, loots, might be unblockable once in a while. Just a reasonable limited card. It's funny because it's not a detective and doesn't have 2 power, which are both kind of counts against it, but overall it's fine limited card. Hotshot Investigators, 6 mana for a 4/4. ETBs, bounce a creature. If it's your creature, investigate. Kind of a cute little like extra there where like you can bounce your own creature for value and get some more value, or just bounce your opponent's stuff. You know, not quite Vidalcan Dismissers from back in the day, but this is a reasonable limited card. Wouldn't want a ton of these, but reasonable draft card for sure. Up next, Intruder on the Mind, and I know I'm getting punked here. I know it, I understand it, and I can't help myself. I'm giving Best in Show to Intrude on the Mind. I'm going to regret this, but 5 mana for an instant. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library, put them into 2 piles. Very important to note, an opponent chooses one of those piles. So they give you one of the piles. The other pile goes to the graveyard. Make a Thopter token the size of cards put in the graveyard this way. Alright, so I split the piles 3 and 2. The 2 cards that I really want, 3 cards that are also good. They give me the 3, I get a 2/2 flyer. They give me the 2, I get a 3/3 flyer. I think a lot of the time, the split might be 4 and 1, the card you really want, and 4. So it's either draw 4 or get a 4/4 and the card you really want, which is also pretty good. But that's pretty powerful. That's a pretty cool card. As you know, it's a win condition. It's in a surprise blocker. It also puts cards in the graveyard too. So for things like, you know, whatever, collect evidence and whatever graveyard stuff, that's pretty cool as well. I'm probably wrong here, and I'm fully okay with it. I just think this card's really, really cool. I think this card is also very, very interesting. And this is mostly a standard card, obviously. But we'll see. Again, we'll see. I don't know. I don't... Maybe I'm wrong, but I just want to be right. So there we are. And then Eliminate this card's excellent. Just super solid. You know, don't underestimate how powerful making a creature at instant speed is. Because that factors into their decisions as well. So, cool card. Like it a lot. Best in show. Probably getting punked in this one, but whatever. What are you going to do? Up next is Jaded Analyst, aka me. Basically me doing a set review, right? So for a 3-2 defender. As you draw your second card each turn, it loses defender and gains vigilance end of turn. This card's pretty bad. Usually this common 3-3 defender for 2 in blue is a 3-3, not a 3-2. As a 3-2, this is much, much worse. It trades with everything. And it doesn't block very well either. You want your defensive blue 2-drop to hold the ground against other 2-drops. This just trades. So if you're desperate for a 2-drop and limited to block with, sure. Overall, though, I think this card's pretty bad. Living Conundrum is next. We have a 5-mana, 2/5 uncommon elemental. It has hexproof. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, skip that draw instead. Still alive. As long as there are no cards in your library, it is a 10/10 flying vigilance hexproof. This is going to be a really, really fun limited card. We've seen cards in limited before that are try and deck yourself instead of a loop or whatever it might be. But this is pretty fun. Obviously, 2/5 hexproof for 4 or for 5 is reasonable enough in limited where it can block, plays defense pretty well. And then obviously if you play a super long control game and then get your library empty, this card's pretty awesome. And then mostly safe because they can't kill it too. So pretty fun card. Mostly a meme card. For constructed, obviously Thassa's Oracle and stuff is much better. But yeah, pretty cool limited card. Can't wait to draft this deck in limited. And wouldn't take it highly, but pretty cool card. Lost in the Maze. Blue X Enchantment. Rare with Flash. Pretty cool card. When it ETBs, tap X creatures. You stun your opponent's creatures. And then all tap creatures that you control have hexproof. So it saves your stuff and taps and stuns their things. This is going to be a broken limited card.
Who's in charge?
Broken.
Me or the devil? I think I'm in charge.
Constructed, probably not. It's interesting, but very clunky. But for limited, this card is like, woo, boy. And then honestly, you can just cast this for blue. So if you just attack them and say go, and they untap and try and kill your creature, you just cast this and save your creature. That can work too, I guess. But that being said, probably not for limited. But for constructed. But for limited, this card's a bonkers card. Really, really good. Tap their team, stun them all down, win the game. Easy game. Mystery Spy, 1 mana for a 1/1 flying Merfolk Detective uncommon. Disguise 2. Whenever it's turned face up until end of turn, whenever a creature you control does combat damage to a player, investigate. That's pretty sweet, honestly. You can get a clue or two off this thing. Pretty reasonable. That being said, it's a pretty small body, but this is an okay limited card. Which is fine. Reasonable. There's no cap, too. So if you hit with 2 or 3 creatures, you get 2 or 3 clues. But that's not the easiest thing to do, obviously. And clues have diminishing returns, where that 4th clue is worse than the first one, because it just costs a lot to flip. So kind of cute. Out Cold, the mana for an instant can't be countered, so no ward here. That's an important. We'll see if this can't be countered text and a lot of spells in the set, because the goal here is to get around ward. This taps 2 things, stuns them, and then investigates. Pretty good card. Kind of similar to the white pump the team +2/+1 card, in that ideally you're casting this card just winning the game on the spot. So investigating is sort of kind of unnecessary. But this is also a card you can use defensively too. You just cast this thing, tap 2 attackers, stun them, draw a card off. It's kind of cool. Replaces itself. Pretty cool limited card, honestly, for aggro or controlling decks. Profs Eidetic Memory. Legendary rare enchantment for 2 mana. EDB draw a card, which is huge. No max hand size. Beginning combat your turn. For every card you've drawn beyond your first draw, put that many +1/+1 counters on a creature you control. And kind of weird, right? So you play this thing, you get to buff an attacker. I guess or blockers need to attack, which is interesting. But that being said, this card's good and limited, right? It just cantrips, pumps the thing by 1, and then kind of goes from there. Constructed, it's weird. Plays badly with Rafine, obviously, because Rafine's already after attacks. But kind of a weird card, honestly. Because it draws a card by itself, the floor is super high. This might see play somewhere. Good limited card, but odd one. Kind of an oddball card. Projector Inspector. 3 mana for a 3/2 common. Whenever it or a detective ETBs or is turned face up, you may draw a card if you discard a card. Just good limited filler. 3/2, loot. Nice mustache. Just fun. Reasonable Doubt. 2 mana for an instant. Counter spells control plays 2, so Quench, not very good. and then suspect up to 1 target creature. Not a particularly useful thing to have on a counterspell. So once again, suspect means the creature has menace and can't block. And like, it's okay, but like not on a quench, you know? So I don't know. It's kind of cool in limited because you can like counter their spell and make it so their guy can't block also. So that's an important thing where like suspecting will probably mostly be used to give your opponent stuff not be able to block if you're aggressive. A little weird to counterspell, but like, I don't know. Kind of a weird card. Obviously terrible constructed, and obviously as a limited card, a little weird. Reenact the crime. I'm not going to lie, folks. I had no idea what to do with this card. No idea what to do. Could have been a trap card. Could have been best in show. Could have been a sleeper card. But I have no idea. Reenact the crime is blue, 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 1 instant. Exile. Target non-land card in a graveyard that was put there from anywhere this turn. Copy it and cast the copy. So we can discard a Traxa to a looter, to whatever, to Rhoda, and then just cast this thing and cast it. Your opponent can play Breach the Multiverse. You can just cast it also. That being said, is that good? I don't know. Honestly, blue, blue, blues a lot, right? And, you know, you can discard Evercool and cast it. You can, I don't know. You know, the blue, blue, blue is pretty tough. So it's kind of like a weird reanimatory card. You could like channel a Magma Opus and cast that. I don't know. Is it too hard to do? Is it really powerful? I don't know. But it all has to happen right then and there. So like you have to find a way to discard this card and then cast this card immediately. So you can't like, you know, discard the card early or whatever. It has to be all one shot. And ideally the discard is not going to cost mana because then you're just adding a cost to it, right? So if I have to discard to a blood and then cast this, now it's cost 5. It's a lot worse. So very, very weird card. We'll probably make some moves in some format somewhere. I would not play this card in limited. It's too hard to cast and too awkward. But as far as constructed goes, yeah, this card could be anywhere from like banned in some formats to just totally unplayable. I don't have an answer for you. Honestly, I really don't. I don't know what to do with this card. Very, very strange card. Steam Core Scholar. This card's simpler. They mana for a 2/2 flyer with vigilance. Whenever ETBs draw 2, then discard 2 or discard an instant sorcery or flying card. Good solid card. Great limited card. Obviously, discarding a spell and keeping a card is pretty great. Discarding spells is awkward because like you want to keep your spells when you loot typically. You want to discard lands. But that being said, cool way to get big spells in your graveyard, obviously. Body's fine enough. Great limited card. If your constructed deck is looking to discard some big spells, this can do that. You discard Magma Opus, draw 2 cards. It's pretty good. But yeah, we'll see. It does combo with the last card for 7 mana, which is not good enough, obviously. But pretty cool card. That's weird. Great. Sudden Setback. 4 mana instant. Owner targets spell or non-land permanent, puts it on the top or bottom of their library. Obviously a solid limited card. You know, adding a counterspell aspect to a usual removal spell is reasonable and nothing super exciting, but pretty solid. Constructed, this can stop uncounterable spells, you know, Cavern of Souls, Traxa and stuff. That being said, it's very, very expensive. So overall, not the most exciting. Surveillance Monitor. 4 mana for a 3/3. When it ETBs, you may collect evidence 4. Whenever you collect evidence for anything, make a Thopter token with flying. Pretty good, honestly. You know, if this, as long as you make the 1 token, a 3/3 and a 1/1 flyer for 4 is pretty good. And then you might get other tokens as well. Just an okay limited card. Synergy based for sure, but fun. Unauthorized Exit. 2 mana, instant. Return non-land permanents to owner's hand, surveil 1. This is probably the best boomerang you've ever seen, right? I can't target lands, obviously. This is just a reasonable card. You know, if you need to bounce things, this does it. This will probably see play in a lot of formats because I don't think there's a better 2 mana bounce spell than this. And surveil 1's pretty good too. In limited, a little less exciting, honestly, because bounce spells aren't as good in limited. We're not getting a map here, some other piece of material, just surveilling 1, but overall, fine. You know. So, ooh, I screwed up. Wait, did I screw up? Oh, I didn't. We're good. I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind. Current Jim is surprised. Past Jim chose his card as best in show. Best in show is Intrude on the Mind. Sleeper card is Cryptic Coach. Curious Inquiries are trap card, and Cold Case Crackers are Bombin Common. That's it for blue. Like, comment, subscribe. Hit the buttons, do the things. Black's coming up. You two folks, I love you. Show support, and I'll see you in black. Let's go.